In this video, we are going to talk about 3 lithium miners listed in ASX. This lithium miner, AVZ Minerals, is interesting because they don't get their lithium from Australia or South America, but they get it from Africa. So we're gonna start with comparing similarities and differences with AVZ Minerals, Pilbara Minerals, and Allkem, and then we're gonna finish up with the risks of investing with AVZ. AVZ Minerals used to be called Avonlea Minerals. Caught my attention because this African mining exploration company is in trading halt since May 2022, and back then it was traded at 78 cents per share, and they've been public since 2007. And if you look at their financial tabs in ComSec, they haven't sold any minerals yet. They've been doing a lot of exploration, with the main turning point in 2017 annual report, where they start owning a stake in Manono project in the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. As usual, this video are informational only. I'm not trying to speculate or influence you to buy or sell of any particular stock, and we have to be very careful with this stock because on September 2022, AVZ released this announcement that there is an arbitration proceedings and investigation in regards to who owns what stakes of the Manono project, and it involves a Chinese company called Jincheng Mining and a hedge fund research firm called Bodman Capital, and this firm is focused on shorts strategy. That means they're looking at a company that doesn't deserve the valuation, and they're hoping that the valuation of the company is going down. So we have to be very careful when we're talking about this company, and maybe that's why the stock is under trading halt for months. So let's stick to what they've reported so far. So far, it looks like this Manono project in DRC is looking good. They have drilled a lot of holes, and it looks like there's a lot of lithium in there, and they're planning to process it to become a lithium sulfate. There's a difference right there with Allkem, where they process it to make lithium carbonate, and they already published the ore reserves estimate, and in the annual report they claim if it is successful, it's going to be the largest undeveloped lithium mine in the world, according to them. They've done a lot of feasibility studies, and some of them concluded that this mine life will have at least 29 years, with about 21 million tons of 6% lithium grade minerals and about 1.7 million tons of lithium sulfate produced. And again, it is just studies. In reality, it could be a lot different, and who knows. But to compare it with Pilbara Minerals, PLS, with their Pilgangura project south of Port Hedland, with 26 plus years of mine life and about processing capacity of 580,000 tons per year. And by the way, for financial year 2022, Pilbara has shipped at least 361,000 tons of spodumene concentrate, which brings in about $1.2 billion of revenue. Whereas Allkem Mount Cattlin spodumene operation used to be Galaxy Resources, produced at least 144,000 tons of spodumene concentrate, bringing in a revenue about 450 million US dollars. And Allkem is transparent enough to produce their unit cash cost of production, which is about 420 US dollars per ton. And we'll discuss more about production costs with AVZ later on in the video. So this is the map of DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, with its capital Kinshasa over here. And they say Manono is about 500 kilometers from Lubumbashi, the third largest city of DRC, and it's also known as a mining capital. Let's talk about the ownership of Manono project. This subject has produced a lot of rumors because, again, that involves with that short focus hedge fund research firm Bodman Capital, but we can only go for what AVZ has published from the annual report, and I'm not trying to speculate to tell you to sell or buy anything. So AVZ owns 75% of Manono project, whereas the rest, at least 24%, is owned by the godfather, a known Chinese billionaire, Mr. Pei Zhenhua, whose fortune arises from his battery product supplier Amprex. And how did he get at least 24% of stake? He paid about 240 million US dollars, which brings the valuation of Manono project about $1 billion, isn't it? This is a big change because if you look at the previous annual reports, say in 2019 and before, there's another Chinese company called Huayo International Mining, and it owns about 9.8% of AVZ. Not only Chinese company has a lot of stake in AVZ, AVZ CEO has secured binding sales agreement with these Chinese companies. GFL, Ganfeng, who also happen to have a substantial stake in Pilbara Minerals, and then Shenzhen Lithium Group, and lastly Yibin Tianyi, in which very related with Mr. Pei Shenhua Amprex company. And contemporary Amprex also own about 7% stake in Pilbara Minerals. Just by looking at the majority of shareholders, Pilbara Minerals and AVZ Minerals have similarities, whereas Allkem is very different. With majority stake comes from the Japanese company Toyota Shuho. Let's get to not so pleasing subject. Before contemporary Amprex, Mr. Pei Shenhua owns 24% of AVZ Minerals. AVZ used to be owned about 9% with this cobalt mining company called Huayo Cobalt Group. There's a lot of news in the media criticizing cobalt mining operation in Africa, and Amnesty International are involved in this because they believe that the mining operation is unethical and it involves child labor. And the cobalt supply chain is huge because most of the devices now has batteries, and some media are criticizing Apple and Microsoft with their involvement in this issue. After hearing this, I was surprised. I'm not trying to speculate to you, but luckily one of the subscribers mentioned about Cobalt Blue, the cobalt mining company in Australia. They're saying that the majority of cobalt produced in the world comes from China. I'm not trying to speculate here. Maybe this is what it means by various. Maybe there are some of that cobalt comes from Africa. I'm not sure. The next challenge that AVZ has is in logistics and supply chain. It's pretty obvious if you mine like Pilbara Minerals near Port Hedland, the supply chain is ready and efficient, and they have proven that by publishing amazing profit, 560 million for financial year 2022. The same with Allkem with their Mount Cattlin, the spodumene, and also the Sal de Vida in Argentina project that produces a profit, which means their logistic must have worked with this high lithium price. What about Manono project? Say if everything goes through. Although it's 500 kilometers to Lubumbashi, it's right in the middle of Africa, one of the biggest continent in the world. And if they have to bring a truck from Manono to Lubumbashi, that's at least 12 hours drive. I don't know if they have highways or not. But in AVZ annual report, they mentioned that they own 100% stake of a DRC logistic company called Nuki Logistic, with companies' plans to export through ports of Lobito in Angola and Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. When you think of it, so you mine in DRC, but you have to ship it in another country. Imagine the costs involved. And another risk as well is that is it safe to ship those precious metal for hundreds of kilometers outside the country to another port? Is it safe? I'm not an African politics or history expert, but I've seen the news around the DRC. Even the United Nations has to get involved. And the region has not been fully secured since the Belgian left. United Nations even have a special mission called United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic Congo. I'm not trying to discourage you or tell you to sell anything, but I think this will become the main challenge of AVZ, is to convince all investors that it is safe to invest with them, that the lithium can be mined safely from Manono and shipped through Angola or Tanzania at low cost. And also, if you search up Marikana massacre, that's when the mine workers in South Africa was murdered because they're fighting for an increase of wages. So let's not hope a similar incident happen in Democratic Republic of Congo, but it's still going to be a challenge of investing in an African mining company instead of inland in Australia, where the rule of law is clear and the safety of everyone and the rights of the workers are protected by the government. And that's the case with Pilbara Minerals and Allkem. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I'm just saying that this is going to be a very, very difficult challenge for AVZ as opposed to Pilbara Minerals and Allkem.